Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to show you how I produce a graphite pencil sketch as reference before I paint. Well, it's my first morning here in Cornwall and just looking across at the view and got my little sketching book. I'm going to make a sketch or two, I think. Well, I love the way this this view here, the way the valley drops down with the trees. There's a road going up there, but I don't think I'll put that in. But we've got the sheep. Yeah, it's a lovely composition. I'm going to start sketching. Well, there's the view. I love drawing sheep, and they're not that difficult to draw. You just basically, let's see one that's coming towards us. There you go. Let me just pull in a little closer to show you what I'm doing here. And you need to put the arc of the body in first. Then the underside, don't worry about the head, and then the little legs at the back, the little legs at the front, and then this one is black head. So you put a little black head on, another leg at the back there, and look, that's another sheep put in. I'll put in basically the outline of the trees, hedging, the way the valley turns down, and I'm going to continue putting some sheep in. I'm using a light wash Derwent graphite pencil. I will then go over with shadow work to get form and shape to those trees, and of course a bit of shading in the foreground, but in the meantime I'm going to crack on. Now, as you can see, that's the view, and this is my take of that as an initial start. As you can see, I've decided to put those trees in, the gateway which is closed so that the eye is pulled in. I've introduced a few sheep, not all of them, and I've put a couple fairly close to help give perspective down the valley. I've shaded in the right hand side of that, very little shading on the left, and then I've been very dark again with the right hand side of that oak tree there, showing up the light on that particular tree there. So this is what you've got to do when you draw. It's a good base then to think about tones before you think about colour. So I'm going to continue with this. I've put that tree in. If you notice, that's softer than that one. This is more hard edged. That gives depth. All I've got to do now is do varying shadings on these trees that run away down the valley, a little bit in the distance, a little foreground, a little bit to the sheep, and then I can take that back in and work up a watercolour. Now I'm working on my pink pig sketching pad, and I'm using Derwent sketching graphite pencils. I've gone in with a light wash. Now I'm touching in the darker areas with the medium tone wash of pencil, and this just gives us a third tone really. Got light, medium, now we've got the darks. And we don't want too many darks, and can you see I'm mainly doing the right hand side and the underside of where the shade is, the underside of the leafing really. One or two little touches on the sunlit side, but not too many. Then we go light, and then we go dark again, and it's a little darker there, but really dark on the underside of that tree there, and as it goes away into the distance there. Now the trees we're going to darken, got the light coming from the left, going to darken that trunk there, like that, and that trunk there is going to be dark. We'll make that completely dark, that's inside, and there is a dark trunk there too, but let's just close that up. There we are. Then we have main trunk there that has a branch, and that trunk goes to there fairly wide, and then it splits, and then you see the odd smaller branch further up like that. That goes up to there, that again goes like that, and then you see the smaller branches that eventually come out the top. Notice I turned the pencil there because that helps to give you a slightly different feel to it. And overall, a little bit more on the face of that sheep. We've got shadow under the sheep, like that. This actually goes that way. Some little spiky grasses under that one, like that. And there's a little shadow there, shadow there, shadow there, and little touches of shadow there. And the grasses, we've got a lot of spiky areas. I'm going to use this dark for this, and then just gently tease in some little touches of grasses, slightly taller grasses, and then of course we have shadow underneath those. And I'm going to put a couple of clouds in, so I'm putting a cloud in there, and the reason for clouds is that you get shadow across the landscape when you have clouds, so consequently we need some clouds to indicate that there is a bit of shadow. And the clouds are quite simply treated, really. Darker to the right, lighter to the left, like that, and we soften those. I'll show you how to do that. A little bit in the distance, not too much. And then, as I say, there probably is a shadow, possibly from a cloud in the foreground, and that runs away like that, so that can then be in shadow, or half in shadow, half out, that sheep, that particular one there. And then we have just a little bit of shadow just here, just to supplement, gives the sheep something to sit on, really. Brilliant, that's the drawing. Now with my damp brush, it's one of those brushes that with a container, a vessel there, where you fill up with water, so you unscrew the top, you pour water in, you screw the top up, and that is basically sealed. But when you want to use it, you just unscrew just a touch to allow air in, and then water flows on from the vessel into the point of the brush. And we use that to soften areas like that. And if you notice, you're almost creating a watercolour, because you're using that paint, that graphite that's floating on the surface of the paper. There we are, and that's all you need to do when you paint and sketch with graphite. I love it because you produce lovely little tonal sketches that are so invaluable to create a feeling of distant depth, like that. There we are, just a little softening of that there, perhaps. Don't want that too heavy there. Then, of course, you move over and we've got a bit of distance. I'm going to do the distance first. So we'll do that land in the distance, that lovely valley that we can see, or distant hill, slightly distant hills, moorland or whatever, and then these trees. And with clouds, if you go a little dark in some of these areas, there's a trunk there, a couple of trunks there, should have used a point but never mind, and there you go. And of course then you've got a hedge under there that supports that. Then we start softening these areas. They're of no real significance to the finished painting, but it's an outside edge that needs attention, like that. Right, now we'll work in with, we'll do the distant trees there and hedging there, and a bit of hedging there. Right, where do we start? Let's do this one. A little dark, so just do the lights first. Clean the brush. Just clean the brush. To allow that to dry. Just clean the brush, just to make certain that we don't get it too dark on the light areas. But of course, once we come over to the darker areas and soften those areas up, you can end up getting lovely little dark touches. And marry the two together, darks and lights, and use the point of the brush then to create the outer edges of the tree. And you've got lights and darks all mingled in there. A little bit of, there we go, and this is where the real darks come in, on the lower and right hand side. Notice how I'm going back with the graphite. Just while it's on the brush, touching back in. Once that dries, it looks very dark at the moment, but once it dries, it'll dry so much lighter. So that's one tree, there like that, and hedging. Right, clean the brush again, and then we've got soften that area, soften that. The branches there, we'll leave those, and this tree sort of stands up a little, but it's a softer tree because it's a little further away. Don't want that to dominate that one, so we're more or less working like that, and we paint around that tree to show the lighter edge, like that. Doing the same here. So it's lights against darks, darks against lights. Always works, whether you're drawing or painting. There we go. Softening up. And I'm going to continue this until the drawing is completed. Going around that little area there because it's a little bit lighter, but I'm not too worried on the outside edge here. It's purely something to hold in that left hand side really. Bit of hedging running up there. We've got fencing there, fence posts anyway. Get those in, and a little bit of a gate. The other fence post there, and some cross sections. Let's do the fence. There we are. There we are. That's better. And we put the cross sections in there. A little bit of shadow there. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? the way you can soften graphite. Some people say to me I prefer the graphite versions of the, as opposed to the actual paintings themselves, which, I mean, they all do have some merit, of course. There we go. There we go, and then a little bit here, just as I say, it's probably cloud shadow really, but it does add something to the whole thing. Now that potentially that sheep is actually in shadow, because there's a lovely shadow here, and we're going to put the legs in there, then we've got shadow underneath. Oh, let's put an ear and an ear there, rounded, oh, they're a bit sharper faced, I think. Pull that across and sit that in that shadow like that. Oh, let's just attend to this chappy there, a little bit of grasses there, and now we can then spread this across and just show that one in the foreground is actually in shadow. So we complete that and we sweep this across to give atmosphere to this foreground, particularly on this right hand side that's a little on the weak side. In other words, it's not got a lot of attention to it, and you can just flick up little grasses and tufts, and that is my version of the tonal values that I can see across the valley here in Cornwall, across the Camel Valley. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me produce this drawing. It's just come a little closer so you can see. It's of the view behind me, and it's a prep sketch for when I decide to paint a little watercolour. And a day like today, I couldn't really resist, could I? So I'm going to get the... After painting this lovely view across the Camel estuary using watercolours, I'm now going to produce a second version using my acrylic paints. The real-time demonstration will be on my YouTube channel this coming Friday, 6 PM UK time. I hope you can join me, but if not, you can view at any time after 6 PM UK time. Thank you all for watching.